Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm Sarah from Who I Am Among the Pages, and if you're new here, thanks for stopping by, and if you're not, thanks for sticking around. So I did film another video just earlier today, and it did go live. This is Saturday, November 28th, I think. So yeah, I look the same, just a little more raggedy because it's now the evening. It's like 4 o'clock. Oh wait, I can check my watch. It is 4:38. But I did end up finishing the book I was reading, which is, let me duck out of the camera, Girl in Blue by Rinaldi. Finished it like literally 20-30 minutes ago. Just decided, took time to pick out what book I was going to be reading next, and put together my TBR for December, which I might also film this afternoon, actually. But so yeah, to get started, I did rate this book 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It is published by Scholastic, which generally means it's geared towards a younger audience. And the best I can find, this book was published originally in 2001, and it looks like this edition was printed in 2004, and I got it at a used bookstore, a local used bookstore, and if you look in the inside cover you can see some yellowing, so I definitely believe that it was published this has been around since 2004. I actually read this as a kid. I was huge into Civil War history when I was younger. I don't know when I fell in love with it. I just remember falling in love with history in general in 1st or 2nd grade, and I actually almost majored in it in high school, but went with English because of my love of books. I remember loving it as a kid, and this is the first time I've read it in at least 10 years because I'm pretty sure I was in the 4th grade, but to be honest, I don't remember. It's been a long time ago now, and as far as I know, I think this book might be out of print. I'm not sure. I'll check, put it in the description down below. But so this is my second read through, and I have to say I loved it as much as I remember loving it the first time around. The only reason I didn't give it 4 out of 5 stars, or 5 out of 5 stars, sorry, on Goodreads, is that I did have some issues with the plot, and especially with how the book is marketed, and that isn't the author's fault, but it is part of it's part of what you're buying. Like and when you buy a book, you read the description, and that's what you're expecting from the story, and I feel like what you get from the story isn't quite the same as what you're told you're going to be getting. And also, there were a few issues with the plot that I can easily forgive. If this had been a specific YA book, or especially an adult fiction, I would have been a lot harsher with it. But it's geared towards kids. I mean, I read it when I was like 10. So yeah, I don't want to be too harsh about it. But, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and give a synopsis. I will start out spoiler-free. Then I will let you know when I'm going to start giving a spoilery synopsis. And then we'll go into my actual review of it. So, the year is 1861. So you're following a very spirited young girl named Sarah Louisa. She has grown up on a farm in, I always forget, it's Michigan. She's grown up on a farm in Michigan, very shut away from the world. She works very hard, and her father, who is not kind to her whatsoever, is trying to force her to wed this really creepy, awful neighbor of theirs. He's much older than her, and she's only 16. So she takes it upon herself to run away, and ends up joining the Union Army as a soldier, obviously disguising her gender as well as giving a fake name and a fake age, because you did have to be 18 to serve, and she was only 16, much less being a woman. So we follow her adventure as she does go into the army. She's accepted, she goes to camp, she learns to be a soldier, and eventually the tides turn, and she ends up in a world of espionage and romance that she never expected to find herself in, all the while dealing with her past with her father. So that's as much as I'm going to say for the spoiler-free part. If you are interested in reading this book by Rinaldi, and I really do encourage it for anybody interested in Civil War history, or Civil War historical fiction. It's very light read, very good. It's like, it's not a literary masterpiece, but it's kind of the equivalent of like Oh, it's selection, like, you know, YA crack, like that kind of thing. And my power just blinked, so if y'all saw that, I'm sorry. That creeped me out. Go get the little salt circle. But anyway, so if you don't want spoilers, now's the time to leave. Bye. Thank you so much for showing up, and I hope to see you again. So, if you're still here, I'm assuming that you don't mind spoilers. So, delving deeper into a synopsis. Her father has abused her for years, and she has done all the work on the farm. Her mother is very beaten down and just can't fight her father anymore. Her sister is kind of a brat somehow, despite growing up in this lifestyle, wants everything handed to her, and her brother is just very sickly and cannot help much. She has an older sister, but she is married, and they live a ways away. And I believe at the beginning of the book she did, that her older sister does have a child. So she finally decides, I've had enough, when her neighbor, Ezekiel Kunkel, which is a heck of a name, comes after she's already been promised by her father to him. He comes and she's like, I'm done. This is the day I'm leaving. So she gets up in the bedroom window, aims the rifle, and shoots the hat off his head as he's coming up. Then she goes out and faces him and basically tells him, like, suck it, I'm done, like, peace. So she does leave. She runs away to be with her aunt in Flint, Michigan, where she works in a millinery. I think that's how you say it, millinery. Anyway, she works making hats and other more accessory type garments. While she's there, she thinks about becoming a nurse because her mother did teach her a lot about natural cures, because of course this is the 1860s. There wasn't the medicine that we have now. And turns out, as of now, the military is not taking female nurses. So she decides to really get away from everything and to serve her country and make her life really worth something beyond herself, that she's going to just disguise herself as a boy, lie about her age, and go up to the recruiting station the next day. And sure enough, nobody thinks anything of it. She even tries to figure out what she's going to do about the facial hair and makes it through. I am going to touch on that, but moving on. So first she is sent, they kind of stick around a couple days to get the last two guys. They are shipped off then first to Baltimore in Maryland, and she gets her first look at the cruelty of people in war. There's people like, of course, Maryland, I don't know everybody's background in Civil War history, but Maryland was a very contentious state for the Union because it was pretty well split between Southern sympathizing and Union supporters. Especially in Baltimore, President Lincoln, I believe, did end up asserting martial law over Baltimore because he had to keep Maryland to keep the Union a majority. And Baltimore was going to be a huge swinging point if he didn't have control of Maryland, because Baltimore was a huge metropolitan area even then. So they go through Baltimore on the train, and they're having things thrown at them. People are like pushing their face against the glass, like shouting obscenities and that kind of thing. Very interesting. So they go on, and she is settled into Camp Winfield Scott. I can never remember that. Outside of DC. And of course, DC is not DC as we know it today. It is up and coming. And there she learns to be a soldier. She drills, and by this point she's given her her uniform and her haversack, and she already has a gun. She brought her gun from home, but what she needs to be a soldier. So after this, she's called to work in the hospital. She is a smaller guy, even though she's disguised as a woman. They think she's a guy at this point. So she goes to work in the hospital, helping out the doctor, who is very well acclaimed, but is actually only considered an assistant surgeon, I believe. She really likes her position. She really gets into the groove of things. And then the Battle of Bull Run comes, and she does participate in it as part of the 2nd Michigan. I'm horrible with remembering infantry, guys. But she does participate, and she goes through firsthand the horrors of war. She sees men shot and killed all around her. Her allies, her enemies. She shoots a man and sees his heart beating in his open chest. So after that, she was actually knocked out during the battle. Wakes up, goes to find help, ends up in a Confederate camp where they still help her. They still give her food and a place by the fire. She wakes up the next morning, and the 2 men on either side of her have passed. So she's horrified. She eventually makes her way back to Washington, though, which is still held by the Union, and there begins to be a soldier again. Not before long, though, when she is called in and her secret is revealed, that she is indeed a woman. So she is facing either going to jail on very serious charges for lying under oath, not only about her gender, but her age. Like, she's already been caught, so she admits her age. She's 2 years under. So the surgeon that she worked under, says, look, I know the Union means a lot to you. I can help you. So she is put into contact with a man named Alan Pinkerton. And long story short, he gets her involved in the world of espionage. She is then sent to the house of a supposed Southern sympathizer as a maid in disguise sent by a friend. And it helps unravel how she is sending out these messages to the South, because she is a very popular socialite and she knows everybody and she can get anything she wants out of a man. Sarah firsthand makes sure that she no longer does that. It's a great book. I love it. So I think the way I'm going to start doing book rants is that after the synopses, 3 things I like. If it was a book I liked, 3 things I didn't like. So to start out with the 3 things I liked. First of all, I love the power in the main character. She survived her father, who was so abusive, just so derogatory and horrible. And she consistently refers back to that in her hard moments as her source of power. Like, I survived this, that's not as bad. Or when she's working in the house, Rose Greenhow, the Southern sympathizer, she's like, well, you know, I know how to deal with this child because the woman has a daughter. She's like, I know how to deal with this child because this child hasn't been through what I went through, but I know the feeling. So she is able to help out the little girl who is in a very tight spot because of her mother's political loyalties. And just all around, her background really lent her a sense of humbleness. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. She was humble, she was strong, and she was able to reflect on why things were wrong and be able to move forward from that. And I think it's very valuable. And she's also the I don't need no man type, and I don't think you see that very often in books. Especially, this is in early 2000s, and around that time we had Twilight and books of that nature, and I'm not digging Twilight, but it is nice to see a 16-year-old very powerful female character. And also because there were plenty of women that ran away to war disguised as men, and I think it's very interesting to read even a fictional account of this. So the second thing I loved is just the writing in the book. It's very straightforward. Of course, it is meant for a younger audience. I would say probably around 4th through 6th grade. So like 9 to maybe 12 on the high end, so I am way beyond this. But the language is very straightforward and the dialogue is very straightforward, but there is a formality to the dialogue that lends to the period without making it confusing, especially again for a young audience. And also the descriptions in the book, they're still straightforward. It's constantly moving. It's a very fast-paced story. But you know where you are, you know what's happening. You get this sense of community when you need that. She's very good at making you feel isolated with the main character when she feels that way. And Rinaldi is very good at drawing you into how your protagonist feels. And I think that's really impressive. So the last thing I liked, I say this about a lot of books, but I really enjoyed the characters in this. They're very well developed, especially for, you know, a book meant for a young audience that isn't that long. It's 300 pages on the dot. And if you can see, there is not a whole lot on each page. So it's really impressive that Sarah, the main character, had such a depth of, you know, we knew how she felt about things and where she got those feelings from in such a short novel. Excuse me. And all the characters around her, Rose Greenhow, her daughter, all the soldiers she knew really were very believable and very well developed for a book meant for such a young audience. So that is what I liked. Now we'll get into what I didn't like. And I have to say I am biased on this point because this was a nostalgic book for me. I remember reading this on Thanksgiving Day while my mom was cooking dinner, like I've said. So it's hard for me, like, to not want to just look over what I know is wrong with the book. But I'm going to try. So the first is that the plot points are so easy to see ahead of time. The best example of this is when Sarah's trying to figure out how Rose Greenhow is still getting messages out to the Confederacy because she is imprisoned in her own home. And it mentions like 6 times that she has this tapestry. She loves working on her tapestry. She loves her needlework. Well, I mean, I do needlework, and while I'm not going to waste my time trying to put a secret message into my needlework, it would not be hard. Like, if there's something you didn't want somebody to see, but you needed to get something out, there's a very easy way to do it. Of course, I don't work on tapestries. I just do, like, the cross-stitch embroidery, but it wouldn't be that hard. So yeah, it's mentioned like 6 times that she has this tapestry, and then at the very end, Sarah's like, oh, you know what, I bet she's getting her messages out through that. And turns out, like, it was that. And it was kind of disappointing to be able to see exactly what was coming, and I'm sure a child wouldn't be able to, or might not be able to. But I was like, dude, you're making it very obvious. The second thing is the romance that was in the book. No matter how believable the characters were, sorry about that, the phone rang. So anyway, the second thing that I didn't like about the book was just that the romance was forced and kind of unneeded. So while she is working as a spy in the Rose Greenhouse, oh my god, what's her name? I can't remember for the life of me now. Yeah, Fort Greenhow. So Rose Greenhow, while she's working in her house as a spy, is warned beforehand about this young soldier that works there, that they're not entirely sure is entirely on their side still, because he is very close with Rose Greenhow, and they worry that he might have turned tails. She's warned about him beforehand, which I was like, okay, well then there's definitely going to be a romance. And that was another example of the plot points being kind of predictable. But there just was no need for it, because she's like, well, he's like, I can't jeopardize my job. Like, there's no way that he really wants me. And it's just all of a sudden he kind of comes on to her. And they really had nothing to bond over other than being stuck in this house. And like, they know it's war, they know how the military works. They're awful trusting of each other to be so willing to just like fall in love. It seems like, especially in her case, since she's such an independent female character, that she'd be much more cautious to not develop feelings. But then again, she is 16, and this is meant for a very young audience. So the third thing I didn't like, and I know this is stupid, but it really bothered me. There's so many typos in this book. So Sarah is spelled in this book the traditional biblical spelling with the H, like mine. And there are several points in the book where the H is left off. And then there's other words, I don't think I marked them, where words are just spelled wrong. Like a letter's left out or off, or it's like at one point I think it was the wrong stare. Like stare as in I'm staring at you, when it should have been stare like staircase. Simple mistakes, and I think everybody makes them at some point. But this should have been revised better. It could have just been my copy, the edition that I got. It looks like I have like the first trade paperback printing, so maybe your experience would be different if you read this or have read this. But I noticed that it really bugged me, because I mean, I bought this for $4, so it's not like I lost a whole lot, but it's still frustrating that I paid for a book with typos. Like, I know it's stupid, but that really bothers me. So yeah, that is my book rant number 6 on Girl in Blue by Rinaldi. Like I said, I did give it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and if for the plot being questionable at times, I would have given it 5. And I really could have overlooked it because of the nostalgia I have associated with this book. But I really tried to separate that for this video. So, thank you guys for watching yet another video. I did promise a video on BookTube mail, and that did come. but I had some issues with it. So hopefully those will be resolved here soon, and if not, then I'll still do the video. Because what I got is very neat. But it was, I had a little bit of an issue with it. It's fine though, it'll get worked out. But yeah, so again, thank you guys for watching. I'm still in the same clothes that I filmed my book rant on Insomnia by Stephen King, and it is the same day. I might go ahead and do my December TBR today because I am kind of feeling on a roll. But yeah, I hope you guys liked the video. Thanks for showing up. See ya!